So what do you think about when I say modded Terraria? That's right, the waifu Calamity Mod, I hope. Now what do you think about when I say Calamity Mod? Waifu Calamity Mod, the Wrath of Gods add-on, you degenerates. Now I've actually already played the Wrath of Gods mod on my channel over a year ago, but since that video has dropped, it has a major update. So now we have things like new lore, a couple of new bosses, and a new NPC called Solin. And I've also added some other mods like the Wrath of the Machines, which revamps the XMX boss fight, Hunt of the Old God, which adds a new god called Guzma, and I added the Calamity Entropy mod, which adds a couple of new bosses. Like I do with all my modded Terraria playthroughs, I'll put the mods I used in the description. And don't forget to subscribe and like once you're done with this video, okay? Good. So the first thing I did was, I made my character, made my world settings, and named my world. Then as soon as I spawned in, I was messing about with the difficulty UI since that was new to me, and I put it on the Vengeance mode. I then did what every Minecraft player does when they spawn in a world, and that's cut down trees and go mining for some loot, like getting some accessories, life crystals, and a bunch of ores. Now in Calamity, there are a bunch of shrines that appear in your world, typically one per biome, and in these shrine areas, there are interesting loot. Like in the mushroom biome, there's an accessory called the fungal symbiote, which allows you to grow mushrooms right beneath me, and if I consume those mushrooms, I get a mushy buff, which I can get 5 defense, 10% increase in damage, and an increase in life regen. Also, there's like a gazillion shine potions. I then went back to the surface, made 2 insta houses for the guide and the merchant to procreate, made my ores into bars, got a new weapon, upgraded my tools, and I made some wooden armor. I then went to get some more wood, and I got a hapu fruit, which turns me to a 3 to a 9. I then built an area for my gem corns to grow. I then explored the left side of my world, and found a surface shrine and got me a trinket of chi, which increases my damage reduction by 8 if I'm not taking any damage for 10 seconds, and increasing life regen for me and my friends. But I don't have any friends with me. I then went back into the caves to get some more ores and life crystals, and I found myself a biocenter lab and got myself an onyx excavator key. I then made some Hermes boots by using 10 silk and 5 swiftness potions to craft them. I then grabbed all the potions I had to fight the desert scourge, but before I did that, I drank a gravitational potion to go to the Sky Islands to hopefully get some better loot, and got an enchanted sword, which is very nice, and landed very safely. I then made a platinum chest piece and leggings and fought the desert scourge. Once I was done with that, I tried to make the magic storage components, but I couldn't since I didn't have enough emeralds, and also the goblin army spawned in. So I then fought the goblin invasion, is what I would have said if the invasion actually spawned in. I have no idea what's causing this bug, but for some reason when an invasion happens, no enemies spawn in. In fact, I went mining to get some more emeralds for my magic storage, and when I came back to the surface, there was still no enemies. I then got impatient and fought the Eye Cthulhu. Once the Eye Cthulhu was defeated, I got the Shield of Cthulhu, which was really nice, and I was also annoyed since the goblins weren't spawning. So I left and reloaded the world, and boom, the goblin army spawned in. So once that was over, I grabbed the materials to make the King Slime summon, headed over to the Crimson biome and crafted the Slime Crown. I then went back to the Desert biome and fought the King Slime. After I beat the King Slime, I used the Hunter Potion and tried to find the Bound Goblin so I could purchase the Rocket Boot and the Tinker's Workshop. Ooh, he just spawned. I then made the Spectre Boot and grabbed some potions and headed over to the Sunken Sea and fought the Giant Clam. Okay. An attack! Should probably get some oxygen. Oh, wait. Not cool. Oh, this is a bag of piss. There you go. Ooh, my health. And my oxygen. Once that was done, I made a couple of weapons like the Sea Shine Sword and the Storm Surge, which I really like since it can shoot through walls and doesn't consume ammo. I then made a Crabulon spawning item and grabbed some potions to fight Crabulon, but first I made an arena for it. After I beat Crabulon, I actually fought it multiple times because I wanted to get the range weapon called the Fungicide. Ah, there it is. Once that was done, I went over to the Underground Jungle biome and gathered the materials to make the Belladonna Spirit Staff, the Axe of Regrowth, and the Anklet of the Wind, and then upgraded my Spectre Boots to the Lightning Boots. After I got my upgrades, I decided to go to the Crimson biome and fought the Brain of Cthulhu, but this boss actually got a revamp, so it did take me up by surprise, but I did beat it. Oh my god, what is happening? Oh my god, I have not seen this before. I am scared. Damn, that's scary. Oh my. Can I? Can I please move? Oh, can you not? Oh. Oh! Why is it so fast? 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 I am scared. Puppy, help! God, what do I do? I've got literally confusion. Oh my god. That was something else. Then with the loot that the Brain of Cthulhu dropped, I made the Crimson Armor set and the pickaxe. I then farmed a couple of King Slimes to get a Crown Jewel accessory. So let's just fight the King Slime. Let's try. Boom. Nope. And boom. Oh, I didn't get it. And boom. What? You do drop it, right? Yeah. Then drop it. Oh, not my NPCs, you dork. What? Wait, can I make it with... Oh, I can't make it with that. Oh, never mind. I got it anyway. Oh, and I got stress plus as well. That's good. Once I got that, I then went fishing in the snow biome to get snow crates, then used those to make the ice boomerang, and then into the trimarang. After that was done, I wanted to go to hell and get some hellstone ore, but since I'm a lazy bastard, I just made an instavator, which instantly makes me a elevator. And used an obsidian skin potion and mined a bunch of hellstone ore. I then made those ores into hellstone bars and replaced the crimson armor set. Bear in mind, I made the armor set no longer than 20 minutes ago to the molten armor set and made the molten pickaxe. I then grabbed some potions and then made an arena off camera to fight the perforators and fought again to get the range weapon. Okay, let's buff and summon, and then we'll do that. I then did a bit of reforging on my weapons and headed over to my dungeon and made an arena for Skeletron. And I actually raw dogged it without any potions and a condom. Oh my god. Oh. Oh. My. Hello. I failed. Sold in. Okay. I'll just leave you be then. After I defeated Skeletron, I headed into the dungeon. I got the Cobalt Shield, the Bewitching Station, Bones, water candles, and the handgun. So once I got what I needed, I could start fighting the Wall of Flesh, but I'm actually going to build an AFK money farm right now because 1, I need to reforge all my accessories to Menacing, and 2, building it in late pre-hard mode will be a lot easier than early hard mode, since in early hard mode, not only do the enemies want to kill me, but they also want my caked up cheeks for their pleasure, which I will not tolerate, so I'm building it now. So now I've made the AFK money farm and it has generated me a lot of money, but for some reason the salamanders will clip through the floor and fall into the lava pit. But I've done this on my personal world and that doesn't have a problem, so I know it isn't a design flaw. So I have no idea what's happened there. I did gather all the materials to make the skyline wings, but I forgot to press record on my OBS, so yeah, deal with it. I then wanted to fight the slime god, so I used the insta bridge and lit the area up. I guess I'll just do it here. And then over here. Look, what's this? The magna cannon. Granite, meteorite, diamond, sapphire. If I do that, then I'm pretty sure I can just craft it. No, what is that? Oh, meteorite. Okay, now, yeah, the magna cannon. 20 range damage, 4% crit chance, very slow speed, very weak knockback, charge up a rapid fire burst of crystal bolts. Charging for longer increases the number of bolts fired. Fully charged shots fire even an even longer and more rapid burst. Yes, please. So, oh god. Where's the dummy? Dummy? I'm not an idiot, am I? Look, I'm typing this. Oh, there it is. I am an idiot. Let's place you here. So this is about 85 to, okay, 70 to 85. This. Holy guacamole. I'm going to keep this one because it goes for walls and that's kind of useful. Obtained from sandstone chest from the underground desert shrine. I could try. The thing is, I don't know which shrine or which desert could be in. I assume it's like the underground one. Okay, let's get ourselves a couple of splunker. We got a couple shine, a couple mining. Ooh, found it. First, let me open this, and then now, if I can get up, I have Luxor's gift and a comb. So now this. So it does an extra like 50 damage, which is quite useful. I then bought a bunch of potions and fought the slime god. So the last boss I needed to defeat in pre-hard mode was the Wall of Flesh. So I made 2 instant bridges, I went down to hell and used them. Here. Okay, let's do this. And do that. I then made a bad decision and decided to make the Terraspark boots instead of keeping my menacing Frostbark boots. So now I have to AFK some more money so I can get my menacing on my boots. So after 40 minutes of waiting and reforging, I bought some potions and fought the Wall of Flesh, which will be the end of pre-hard mode. Okay, so let's go to you. Let's buff up. We'll summon all our things. We'll get rid of these platforms and then summon you. sunken sea trembles. Cobalt and palladium. Each when the lion dark has been released. A star has fallen from the heavens. Oh, sorcerer. Okay, so use that. Once they entered hard mode, I destroyed some altars to get them Souls of Night, since in Calamity, you get the better hard mode ores by defeating the mechanical bosses. I then went back to Hell and fought the Wall of Flesh again so I can get the Ranger emblem. After I got that, I went to my AFK money farm for some quick accessories that will help me, like the magic quiver, the cross necklace, the star cloak, and the philosopher's stone. Also in Calamity, there's an enemy called the Earth Elemental, which once killed drops me the slag magnum, which is really nice. I then farmed some Souls of Flight from the Wyvern and a giant harpy feather so I could make it into the harpy wings, but I forgot I don't have any mythal or orichalcum ore, so I just to make angel wings. I then went mining for both cobalt and palladium ore, since those spawn straight after the Wall of Flesh is defeated. I then made the palladium ranger armor set and the pickaxe. And they also made the dust carver from the Calamity Entropy mod, which is amazingly overpowered. I then went AFK in my money farm again for those 3 mechanical boss spawners, and once I got those I fought the pirate invasion. After done that, I then grabbed some potions and fought the Queen Slime for the Crystal Assassin armor set. After I got the armor set, I used the dust carver's summon things and grabbed a golden rock, which will increase its damage bonus depending on the amount of enemies I've killed. So I wanted to maximize on the damage bonus, so I went to my money farm and killed a bunch of enemies and maxed out the accessory. After I maxed out the golden rock, I got some potions and fought cryogen. After I beat cryogen, I got the summoner weapon and felt my inner Genghis Khan genes rising and fought the twins and Skeletron Prime on the same night. I then finally started spreading my NPCs out for the pylons because I just got annoyed at having to fly around for a long time. I then saw this item called the Ultimate Battler, which spawns an insane amount of enemies, like even more than the Zerg potions. Like to the point where my PC would actually slow down when I activated the Ultimate Battler. And the reason why I made this item is because in order to spawn the aquatic scourge, I would need 5 shark fins. And I do not want to be waiting around for that. So I got my shark fins, made the aquatic scourge summoning item, bought some more potions, then fought the aquatic scourge. Okay, so at this moment in time, I did a lot of research on the Calamity Entropy mod, which basically means I just ChatGPT'd it, since I found a lot of bookmarks I dropped from bosses, but I didn't know how to use them. But then ChatGPT says they're basically a sub-mage class, which didn't help me one bit since I am a ranger. But even if I was a mage, I still wouldn't use it since apparently the Entropy mod weapons are really overpowered according to Reddit, and also my experiences. So from now on, I won't fight any bosses with any Entropy weapons. That rule only applies to bosses, by the way, not regular enemies or events, since I really like the homing of the Dust Carver. And it kills everything very fast, so I did not want to waste a lot of my time. So to replace the Dust Carver with something that's in the base Calamity mod, is the Flarewing Bow, which I need the Hellwing Bow, so I teleported to Hell and got it. Another one. Yay! Essence of Sunlight, Obsidian, and also Living Fire blocks, which I used the Ultimate Battler to get the Living Fire blocks within like 2 minutes. Wow. Okay. While I was getting those blocks, I then managed to get the Fire Feather, which drops from the Red Devils, and headed over to the Underground Hollow to get the Mithril and Orichalcum ores, and managed to get the Rod of Discord. Oh my days, I got a Rod of Discord. That's quite insane. Once I got back home, I made the Flame Wings, or small potions, and fought the first boss on the Entropy mod, Luminance. Okay. I did nothing. Okay, this is hard. Oh my days, okay. Okay, after a few attempts, since this is a new boss to me, so I needed to get used to it, but I did manage to beat it. So from the Luminaris loot bag, I got the Luminaire bow, which is amazing since every arrow homes onto the enemies, but once again I'll only use this bow for enemies and crowd control and not bosses. And then straight after I fought the Destroyer, and the Destroyer destroyed about 70% of my NPCs. I then made the Drax, since I've now defeated the third boss from the Calamity bosses, and now I have access to hallowed bars. Then the next day I made some more NPC houses in the snow and in the desert biome for the pylons and fought the aquatic scourge. I did fight it many times since it can drop a weapon called the Sea Searing, but the solar eclipse happened, so I went back home and once again used the ultimate battler and farmed its enemies. Once that was done, I just kept purchasing the aquatic scourge loot bag since I definitely have the cash for it and wanted to save some time. Nope, I'm gonna just sell these. Look, I'm not tripping, mate. It does sell it. 10%. This one? No. So, this one? No. This one? No. This one? No. I do already have it, right? No, I don't. This one? No. This one? No. This one? No. I'm losing my platinum. Got it. I then went to the Brimstone Crag and fought a Calamity Entropy pre-hard mode boss, which is a shame since aesthetically it was so good and the boss's attacks would be so good for pre-hard mode, but yeah, I did beat in like 20 seconds. And then, after I got the materials for the Brimstone Elemental spawning item, I made the Brimstone Fury, the Angel Treads, and farmed a bunch of enemies for the Ankh Shield. Boom! The spectacles, right? Yeah, the shades. And then I can make the Ankh Charm, then the Ankh Shield. I then went to the Underground Jungle and got a lot of life fruit and chlorophyte ores and made the chlorophyte Ranger set. After I made that, I fought the Brimstone Elemental. I then fought a couple more times so I can get the Hellborn, but I also got the Maw of the Void, which is a Calamity Entropy accessory, which I will be using. I eventually got the Hellborn and also got another Entropy summon weapon called the Evil Friend. I then fought the Calamitous Clone. So that'll be it for this video of the Calamity Wrath of Gods mod. So in the next episode, it'll be the rest of the hard mode bosses and post Moon Lord bosses. So subscribe to my channel so you won't miss it once I upload it. See ya. After I got the animosity from the Calamity's clone, I then bought a lot of plants for the Plantera bulbs and headed over to my jungle and mined out a small area to fight the Plantera boss. Oh, and by the way, I only just realized this, but you can actually use the old Excavator mod to auto place down platforms. Yep, I'm a complete idiot. So after I beat Plantera on my first try, I then fought her 2 more times for the living shards. After I got a bunch of those, I wanted to make the Vernal bolster, so I got the materials and weapons I needed to make it. I then teleported to the jungle to farm some ectoplasms and used the ultimate battler to easily farm them. After I died. So now that I've obtained some ectoplasm, I can make some cores of Calamity, which I can make the Arc Nova Diffuser by using the core of Calamity, the Magnum Cannon, and the Opal Striker. Now once you defeat Plantera, you'll get a message that says energized plant matter has formed in the underground. That ore can be mined in the underground, made into perennial ore, and made into perennial bars, which can be used to make the Reaver armor set with the living shards. I then discovered another weapon called the Leviathan, which obviously drops from the Leviathan and Anahita, so I then went over to my ocean and fought them. Now with my luck, I didn't get the weapon on my first drop, so I just used my riches and bought lots of treasure bags, and that put a significant dent into my wealth. I then wanted to fight Golem, so I teleported to the temple and tried to light up the area, but I overdid it and now I spawned in the torch guard. But that was a piece of cake. I then fought Golem, which was also a piece of cake. I then wanted to fight Ashram Orus, I believe that's how you say his name, But first I need to make the code breaker to unlock the Astrum Aura spawning item. So I made the code breaker base and the encryption computer and I encrypted this base schematic in order to unlock the astral chunk. After I'd done that, I made the naughty present to summon the frost moon and get myself the chain gun and the snowman cannon. I then did the pumpkin moon event the next night and all I wanted was the witch's broom for the infinite flight. I then headed over to my astral biome and fought Astrum Auras on the first try. I then straight after tried to fight another Calamity Entropy boss called the Prophet, and just like Luminance, I died. But the boss was basically one lick away from dying, so I just made my arena slightly bigger and fought it again. I then farmed some wyverns for more souls of flight and made the speaker wings, and also farmed a bunch of sea creatures to get the Arctic diving gear, and headed over to my sulfurous sea biome and sank down all the way to the abyss to the third layer and mined some scoria ore for later. I then made a surface mushroom biome and got the truffle to move in so I could make the Shroomite armor set. I then quickly got myself a jungle schematic, and while I was decoding that, I headed over to my underground snow biome and mined a bunch of cryonic ore to make a cryonic bars. I then tried to fight the plague being Goliath, but I fought it on the Plantera arena, which was very small, so I died. I then went back to that arena and made it a lot larger. After some terraforming, I reforged all my accessories to warding and fought the plague being Goliath, and died, but I fought it a third time and succeeded. And then the goblin army spawned in, thinking they could kill me, but nope, they got massacred. I got a brand new bow from the Goliath and made the hydrothermic armor set. I then teleported to my jungle and grabbed a few lizard bricks to make the Ravager summoning item and fought the Ravager. So after I beat the Ravager, I actually just farmed a bunch of Plague Bear Goliath for the summoning weapon and the Hive, which is a rocket launcher. I also crafted the NGSS Nidhogg, the Plague Tainted SMG, and the Asgard's Valor. Then now I start doing the Lunatic Cultist, Celestial Pillars, and the Moonlord. But honestly, I fought the Moonlord many times on my channel, so I'm just going to skip the fight and tell you what's changed. So the Lunatic Cultist only has some attacks that reworked and are buffed. The Celestial enemies now drop their respective fragments and melt blobs. And finally, the Moonlord's eyes will continue to attack you even though you've already killed them. So those are the main changes in Revengeance mode, and now the Moonlord is defeated. So the main things I wanted from the Moonlord is the SCMG, Luminite Ore, and the Celestial Onion, which is basically the Demon Heart but for post Moonlord, and I got all of those in a single treasure bag. I then fought the Martian Madness, but I did forget to wait for the credits to go away, but that's fine since I only wanted one weapon, which is the Xeno Popper, which I then upgraded into the Vortex Popper. I then fought the Celestial Pillars and Moonlord again for more Luminite Ore, but I died. But I then fought it again and actually concentrated this time and killed it. I then made the Vortex Armor set. I was then going to fight another Astral boss called Astrum Deuce, but first I just want to point out the obvious, that this tiny island kind of resembles Pakistan. Okay, now onto the Astrum fight. Okay, so you might have noticed that I did freeze quite a bit during that fight, so I just turned off some of my mods like the realistic skies and the atmospheric torches to somehow reduce my lag. Yeah, just letting you know right now that that did not resolve the issue, but that's for future me's problem now. So I then collected some Astral Ore and also some Purified Ore and made them into bars, and then into the Master Chief Armor set. I then teleported to Hell to collect some Unholy Essence so I can make the Profaned Shard to summon the Profaned Guardians. And also made the Super Radiant Slaughterer, which I don't really know how it works, but what I would just do is right click, then spam left click at that direction. I then fought the Profane Guardians and won. And then straight after I fought the dragonfly, I then dropped the golden eagle, which is really powerful. So I then accidentally fought Cygnus because I read this item and thought it was the spawning item for Providence because of the name, but I was wrong. But hey, at least I beat Cygnus. So now is where we have some issues. Not skill issues, but the game keeps freezing. So I did make the Providence spawning item, but whenever I fight her, and when she does her cocoon phase where there's a lot of healing orbs, my PC just gives up and I literally get 2 frames per second and then die spontaneously. This then happened a couple of more times, and every time I did die. So I decreased the settings quality to no background, no blood or gore, and even turned the lighting down to retro, but I kept dying. So I did the one thing I knew to improve it. That was to turn my resolution to 720p and actually fought Providence in the Hallowed instead of Hell and just about managed to survive all the way. So after I finally beat Providence, a new ore will spawn in, and which I mined some and made the Tarragon armor set. I then tried to fight the Ceaseless Void, but just like my first Calamity video, I died. But then I made the arena bigger and fought the Ceaseless Void again. So when I beat the Ceaseless Void, a mysterious portal spawned in, which would be useful later on, but just like my first Calamity video again, Poltergeist spawned in naturally, and I beat it on my first try. I then went to the Abyss and the Skylab to get the materials to summon the Nihility Twins and fought them. Once I beat the Entropy Twins, I then fought the Storm Weaver boss. I then headed to the Brimstone Crag and found the enemies there to collect a lot of Bloodstone to make the Bloodstone core and then eventually the Bloodfiller armor set. I then started to make some weapons and gear for the Devour of God fight and died many times. But after many attempts and then crafting the Haley's Inferno, I finally defeated DOG. After I beat DOG, the Pumpkin Moon, Frost Moon and Lunar Eclipse now drop Nightmare Fuel, Endothermic Energy and Dark Sun Fragments. But before I get into that, I made a new item called the Dawnlight Spirit Origin, which I definitely got this accessory for the increase in damage and not for the swimming that I can just blindly stare at. I then fought all 3 events and collected the items and turned those into the Ascendant Spirit Essence, which then I can craft the Asgardian's Aegis, Chalice of the Blood Moon, and the God Slayer armor set. I also made the SDFMG and tested it out on Moonlord and Calclone. I then wanted to fight Yaron, so I teleported to my jungle and got rid of the floating island and summoned Yaron. So once Yaron was defeated, a new ore was spawned in called the Auric Ore, which we used to make Auric bars. Once combined with the Bloodflare armor set, the God Slayer armor set, and finally the Tarragon armor set, I can make the Auric Tesla armor set, which has the benefits of the 3 previous armor sets into one. I then saw on a wiki that Yaron drops a chicken cannon, which I wanted, but after fighting about Yaron 5 times, I just gave up, and then was going to purchase the rest of the treasure bags, and got it on my first purchase, which was nice. So after I managed to get a chicken cannon, I checked the wiki on what guns I should get next, and one of the gun was the Aces High, so I then crafted and grabbed all materials I needed to make it. I then wanted to make the Onyxia, but for that I'm going to need the Onyx Blaster, but I needed Dark Shards, so I just made a tiny area for the Dark Maroons to spawn in, and while I waited for the Corruption blocks to convert to the sand, I tried to fight the Cruiser, which is the final boss for the Calamity Entropy mod. Welp, I gave up and decided to fight it later when I had better gear, but I didn't manage to craft the Onyxia gun. So I then got all the schematics I needed to get to fully operate the Code Breaker, which allows me to fight the XMX. Now, I died many times to the XMX. Partially because it's a boss and I didn't recognize the attack patterns, partially because I didn't have the correct gear, partially because I was running off microwave as a PC. So for the frames issue, I just put the game on 720p and even fully closed Google Chrome. As for the gear, I made the Ascendant's insignia and the Seraph tracers, which helped me with my movement. And as for my damage, I made the Kingsbane, which is a machine gun with insane amount of DPS. So now before I fight the XMX, I wanted to fight the Cruiser, since now I felt like I was pretty powerful enough to fight it. So here's the fight. So now with the Cruiser defeated, I believe that I now gained enough confidence to fight the XMX. That was a lie since it kept dying, but at the end I did beat it. So when the Exmechs are defeated, they drop an item called the Exo Prism, which can be used to craft Draiden's Forge. Also, the Exomechs drop an accessory called the Draiden's Heart, which turns my adrenaline into nanomachines, which when activated will give me health and a damage reduction. Also, I can make an item called the Miracle Matter, which can be used to make powerful in-game weapons. I then made the Photoviscerator, I think that's how you say it, which is a flame flower, and it also has a secondary attack which fires homing light. And I also made another cannon which also fires rockets that home onto enemies. So now all I have to do with the base Calamity bosses is craft the altar of the accursed and summon the Supreme Witch. So next up is actually a boss called Guzma, the Slime God. Galaxy Pro Max Plus. Anyway, Guzma has an interesting way of spawning. A slime main has to be present, you then spawn in the King Slime, and then drop the Slime God summon on King Slime. Simple, right? Well, I struggled a lot in trying to spawn in this boss, since sometimes I would just forget I have a summon on me and they will just insta-kill King Slime. And I also have NPCs on both sides on where I was going to spawn in Guzma, which will also kill the King Slime. And also Guzma is one son of a bitch to kill. So you guys remember that one rule I made, which was I won't fight any bosses with any entropy weapons. So I made the Light Whisperer and the Void Valkyria armor set, and kept fucking dying. Like, I kept dying in the first phase. There's 2 phases and I kept dying on the first. I then fought Guzma one more time. Where the fuck did Guzma go? Like, seriously, I checked the footage and I did not understand how or why it despawned. I was definitely in the range of the boss to not despawn. Guzma doesn't have a biome requirement for it to spawn. Like, I was right there. Like, I could dash and my dick could be dicking down Guzma. I have no idea why it despawned, but I'm counting that as a win. There's no way in hell I couldn't kill that boss without dying, since I had so much HP and Guzma was like one kiss away from dying. So I'm taking that as a win, and if you're angry, then fuck you. So the next boss I needed to fight before the nameless deity is the Avatar of Emptiness, but the spawn requirements are quite long, so here's a quick summarization. When you defeat Skeletron or the Wall of Flesh, Solon will fall from the sky. Once you interact with her, she will give you a flagpole for you to place. You then need to fix a telescope, which you can then start stargazing until you discover a mysterious rift in space. Once you enter hard mode and kill Cryogen and talk to the Archmage NPC, you will get a dormant key, which allows you to enter the Permafrost Keep, which will have the Frost Blessed Seedling. Then once you enter Post Moonlord and defeat the Ceaseless Void, a portal will appear. You then need to talk to Solon and then go back to that portal, then Solon will give you the second seed, the Anti-Seed. Then once you defeat the Supreme Witch, she will drop the Blazing Bud, which you also need to place down. Then finally, after you defeat the XMX and talk to Solon, you can summon the XGO7 Mars boss fight, so here it is. So once that was over, I placed the synthetic seed and fought the avatar of emptiness. So once we get the message, we need to seek the terminus. So I grabbed my ocean related gear and headed to the bottom of the abyss and got the terminus. But before I did that, I wanted to get the final upgrade for the King Bane, which is called the Soma Prime, but for that, I'm going to need loot drop from Guzma. So I thought to myself, just one more fight. After finally defeating Guzma and upgrading the Kingsbane to the Soma Prime and affording it to Ruthless, it was time for vengeance against the god. So now we finally fought and beat every boss in the Calamity mod and the other add-ons, and that concludes our Calamity Wrath of the Gods journey. But first, I think we need to do one more thing. I just want to thank everyone who watches till this point, and remember to subscribe and like if you enjoyed this video. So that's where we left off in the last episode, but there is a secret ending to this mod. Once you place down the campsite for Solon and enter a tent, there is a bookshelf that needs to be filled. Now I've been slowly placing down these books throughout the playthrough, but there was still a couple more which I needed to get, so I got the rest of the books which I needed. So there are two books that are dropped from the XMX. I've got one of the books, but there is another one. And then I got a note of how many times I couldn't get the second book, but once you defeat the nameless deity, they actually give a permission sheet for you to install the cheat sheet, and since I got my permission, I technically wasn't cheating, so now I've completed the bookshelf. I can now access the secret ending, but if you haven't already seen it and you do plan on playing this mod, then I highly advise you just to click off. Hey, I noticed how much effort you spent trying to keep my little bookshelf happy and full. To be completely honest with you, I'm surprised how you managed to find some of these books. The Bible of Slime? How silly. Anyway, if you're reading this, that means I'm no longer with you. Maybe something with a Genesis went horribly wrong. Whatever the case, I'm sure you already know the answer. It's not much, and I'd love to show you in person, but I want you to have my secret cinnamon recipe in my absence. Think of me whenever you use it, and our time. Solon. I then headed to the Eternal Garden to see an old friend, and as always, thank you for watching.
Terraria.